Right. So, Kershini, welcome to Super Late Podcast.
Thank you, Maanda. Thanks for this opportunity.
Lovely. So we're going to have a fantastic conversation on transformation and the strategies to implement, sort of this transformative journeys that most companies are going through. But before we get there, we want to learn from your journey and your story. And you've held multiple sort of roles. So we also want to learn from those roles in your journey to where we are today. So kick us off right at the beginning, and please also include your story of your grandmother and some of the lessons you learned from there, because I found that those powerful.
Okay, no, thank you very much, Maanda. So I was born and raised in Pietermaritzburg, and yes, I come from humble beginnings. My mom was a teacher, and my dad worked at Ford Armstrong. But I was very fortunate to have my maternal grandmother living with me at home, because I'm child number 3. So you can imagine I'm not mom or dad's favorite, but 100% I had grandma all to myself.
Lovely.
So yes, she was really my, mentor. She gave me all the inspiration I have, taught me the values, taught me to be a lady. It's always good to show up in your feminine outfits, all of these things. So I think my grandmother gave me a lot of wisdom, which when I was growing up, maybe I did not get all of it, but now, as I've really grown up, you start to understand a lot of that. So
and some of what she taught you.
So definitely, respect was something very important, and it's about respecting your elders, respecting the plate of food that you're given, respecting the fact that you can afford to have a blazer for school and maybe another child can't, just all of those things, like holistically. And then very, very important that education is power and knowledge is power. And as a female, that is what is going to keep you independent. Even if, people let you down, your education is really what will keep you going.
Lovely. So then after matric, where did you go study?
So I studied in University of Natal in Pietermaritzburg at the time. So I did my undergrad. I finished, I did a BCom in business finance, economics. And then I did something called business logistics, because in my second year of study, Transnet awarded me a bursary. So therefore, I did business logistics. And when I completed my undergrad, I was fortunate enough that Transnet gave me an opportunity for a job. And then that's what brought me to Johannesburg. So yes, I've been in Johannesburg for 27 years now, Maanda. Yes, so when I was 23, I obviously left Pietermaritzburg, and I'm in Johannesburg for 27 years now. So obviously started working at Transnet for about 18 months, and more just to also learn a bit and in a way, pay back the study grant. And shortly after that, I then moved to the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. They were still in Diagonal Street in town at the time. And because I just had like about 2 years of experience, they were still happy to have me on their class of graduate program. So that was really immense learning for me, starting your career where you are now engaging directly with people like Russell Loubser, Nikki Newton-King, Leila Fourie, all of these people who over the recent past were either the CE of the JSE or currently are. And at the time, it was really amazing because they selected 5 of us to be on this graduate program from more than 200 CVs. But they really mentored us, So I think the mentorship, was really great there. So I did that for about 5.5 years, business analysis, strategy, because they were connecting a lot with Arthur Anderson and Accenture at the time. We learned a lot, so it's like accelerated learning. And then, believe it or not, I joined Nedbank. And in April this year, I'm currently serving Nedbank for 20 years.
No way. Wow. Oh, no, what happened?
Yes. And then I'm now executive head of transformation and strategy. So in a nutshell, that's really been my very quick history.
Wow. And then at Nedbank, at some point, you were head of strategy?
Yes, yes. And so that was maybe the second job I held at Nedbank. And so yeah, that was also fantastic because, I had the privilege of working directly with people like Tom Boardman, Rob Shooter, at the time. And again, so a lot of good mentors over the years, a lot of accelerated learning over the years. So yeah, that was really cool.
Stunning. So let's talk a little bit about the strategy, because I love this framework, the 5C framework. I don't know if you can just kind of walk us through this as your framework for strategy development, because I imagine some of our listeners, they have to grapple with how they must develop and implement their strategy. And love what you've done here with the 5Cs. Do you want to sort of unpack those for us?
Sure. So thanks very much, Maanda. So as an overall umbrella of the 5Cs, we at Nedbank take a very purpose-led approach to transformation. So that means we are not seeing it as just balancing the historically disadvantaged and the historically favored. For us, it's beyond that. We are trying to advance purpose-led transformation, which transcends legislation and the BEE codes, so that we can build an equitable society. So now what I've done is I've just articulated the strategy in terms of the 5Cs, because I've also learned that you need to be able to simplify complex matters so people can also learn. So the first one is about clarity of purpose. So that's really telling people your North Star, because that's what unifies and galvanizes everybody around a common goal. So we never talked about BEE, but we always talked about advancing transformation and doing the right thing for society, supporting the national agenda, seeing this as a moral imperative. So clear purpose, very important. Then commitment from leadership. Now, when I talk about leadership, Maanda, I'm not meaning the CEO. Of course, he's a very key person because he's driving the ship. And his EXCO are important, but leaders permeate across the organization. So you as a branch staff member are a leader. You are client facing. You in the back office who's number crunching and putting all the AFS together, you are a leader. So that commitment from leadership had to permeate the organization. Then we talk about culture change. Now, obviously, for anything to happen, change happens through people. Everyone needs a specific way, in order to do things. So culture was very, very important. Our values, what we're living by, all of those things, very important. That's where appreciation of diversity comes in and so on. Then the fourth C, creative compliance. Now, Maanda, that does not mean fronting and it does not mean window dressing. Yes. It simply means that in a way, we have to leverage capital to deliver. So when you think about capital, you can think about human capital, you can think about socio-economic capital, you can think about financial capital, and you can think about leadership capital. Now, because capital is a scarce resource, and we have to spend certain amounts of money on BEE, we might as well be creative about it so that we have sustainability in our approach. So just to give you an example, for enterprise development, I can easily hit my target by just outsourcing the funds. But we at Nedbank choose not to do that. We have an in-house program. So that then helps you to build sustainability with your suppliers as well. And then in so doing, you're transforming your supply chain. So, that's the whole thing about creative compliance. And there's many other examples around it as well. Creative compliance can also mean don't send people on training, because training is different to skills development in my mind. So when you're doing skills development, when the person comes back into the organization, it must be purposeful. So I've sent you, Maanda, to Harvard, and you've come back with all this knowledge. Now, what can you do with it? How can you contribute? So as an example, even myself, over and above my day job, I'm a coach in the bank. I also coach, So creative compliance is all about that. And then last but not least, it's communication and connection. I mean, we've all experienced being disconnected during COVID, and it was really a shock to everybody's system, So I think connection, communication, very, very important. You have to keep people up to date. You have to tell them what's happening with this North Star. How far away are we? Are all of us seeing the same North Star? You know what's happening. So that was really the 5 C's. Yeah.
Love it. So, I mean, it just triggers a lot of questions. And if for people in this field, they probably want to know more. So how does someone get that clarity of purpose for let's say, perhaps this portfolio? Maybe you can use your example, because someone else might be listening and say, hey, I head up procurement in this department. I think I want to borrow the framework and say, how do I work with my team to get that clarity of purpose? That's one. Maybe we can work a bit there. And the second one is, how do I get this commitment going? Especially transformation can be a tricky conversation, and to kind of get commitment from all the leaders across the business might be a task and a half. I'm curious to know the how-tos.
No, thank you, Maanda. So it has to be a deliberate effort. So one of the first things you do is you cannot create strategy on your own. It's not a one-man show. You cannot transform on your own. That's the first lesson you have to learn. The second lesson is humility. No task is too small and no person is too small. So what you should do is you should get a cross-functional team together, even if you're in procurement, right? And we are in procurement, but remember, we are microcosm in procurement that belongs to a broader whole. So procurement cannot deliver on its own.
100%.
It also needs, we even need finance, we need human resources, we need enterprise development, we need IT, we need all of these people. So one of the ways you do it is you get people together, and then you harness the power of the collective. Now, remember, when you get people together, you're going to have voices of dissent all the time.
Of course.
But you are going to hope that the change is going to be created by those who are actually going to be the change agents. So in a way, Maanda, you even have to deliberately have a change agent. So if I'm human, I've got to say to you guys, okay, who is the person of most influence here? Who is the person that's good? So harnessing different skills. So if Maanda is great with people, let's get him to do this. If someone else is great with strategy, so your cross-functional team should have someone from strategy, from finance, from marketing, from HR, etc. Then we say, what are we trying to do here? So if I'm a guy in procurement, I'm going to say, I'm trying to transform our supply chain. Because if we do not bring the majority of the population into our supply chain, we all fail. So you're sort of crafting a message. You're trying to be purposeful about what you do. I'm not slapping you with legislation. I don't want you to be entitled. I want us to co-create. So it's one way of doing it. You have to get people together. And that's how you sort of get the buy-in. And then, of course, you will find what will happen. Some will drop off. Some will be supercharged. They'll be running ahead of you, which is great. Others will be somewhere in the middle. But as things progress, now you're on a steering committee. It's a big deal. Now you are, you're driving something. So it's all about going back to purpose, Maanda. If you can give someone purpose, but if they can find the purpose in your purpose in a way. Our purpose at Nedbank is to use your financial expertise to do good. So if each employee can sort of see how they can do that, automatically you'll see. It's like a guiding coalition, it sort of forms.
Oh, lovely. So now I have to ask, how do you overcome some of the voices that might say, hey, I'm just here to do my work, get paid? How does all of this transformation stuff contribute to the bottom line? Isn't it, costing us, or, just sort of the dissenting voices around the transformation imperative? What's the impact on the bottom line? Are we gonna, make less money because we are now embarking on the journey that Kershini is guiding us towards?
So I think, Maanda, what needs to be understood is that everything costs money. So If it's not transformation, marketing also costs money.
Wow.
Expanding into Africa also costs money. You know, into
Okay.
the rest of Africa, not that we not in Africa, but
Yes,
you know.
yes. I'm
So
with you. I'm with you.
all these things cost money. So
Okay.
it's really about saying, how do you find the sweet spot between everything? Some things are going to be, you are paying for compliance. That is just the reality of the world.
Okay. Okay.
What we try and do in terms of the creative compliance now. So let's take something like enterprise development, you know. I'll just give an example of Fix Forward, where through that initiative, we created more than 300 permanent and 240 temporary jobs for people that were trained, for training contractors in the building industry, for example.
Lovely.
Or if you look at, so what we do, Maanda, is we constantly show people the benefits of what we're doing. If you look at the Youth Employment Services Program that the bank...
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. We have empowered more than 7,000 youth over the past 4 years with zero benefit on the scorecard. Now, one can argue, because we already a level 1 company, right?
Okay.
So a level 1 company cannot get benefit on the scorecard, but we did this because it's purposeful. It's a national imperative. If we do not solve the problem of Black unemployment with the youth, they are the future. Then the whole country is going to suffer.
Sure.
You know, so we actually sort of show people and we engage them. And also remember with transformation, okay, there's 9 different elements. There's ownership, there's employment equity, there's skills development, there's enterprise and supply development, there's preferential procurement, there's empowerment financing, financial inclusion. So the point is, you might not like, and I hear you on this is your day job, but maybe in your day job, you can contribute to staff volunteerism. That does not take away from anything. And even if you don't want to do staff volunteerism, you can do volunteerism in your community. But now coming back to the profits, I mean, we've even put in an enterprise and supply development vehicle. In the beginning, Maanda, it was such a challenge.
Yes.
Yes, it was a real challenge because we needed 90 million. Just I'm just giving you the example. We needed 90 million and 90 million. You can do a lot of other things, to your point, you know, with it.
Yes.
But we persevered, we put in the solution. Year 1, it took a while. Year 2, it took a while. Year 3, I mean, now it's working really, really well. It's providing blended finance. So, you know, sometimes also it's about patience. You know, some of these things we are also trying. Like previously, we just did preferential procurement. It was easy. There's a number, you spend on different suppliers, simple. Now you are asking us to create suppliers. Now we are a bank. We are not in the business of creating suppliers. Right? But now we have to come up with how do we think we can best do this. And maybe we don't create them directly, but we create them by assisting in terms of funding, mentorship, coaching, how to draw up a business plan. You know, so the thing is, the answer is not always quantifiable, but you can see a qualitative improvement, either improving people's lives or giving someone a job. It might not, like youth employment services is not showing on our bottom line, but surely when you look at the overall YES initiative, it has pumped back more than 6 billion into the economy. So our contribution of the 7,000 is going towards that.
Wow.
So, you know, we always trying to challenge ourselves and say, okay, yes, there are always going to be skeptics, voices of dissent. How do we now balance that? You know, even Maanda, our BEE deal, I mean, you know, the whole issues with BEE ownership and how it's just benefited the elite and, you know, all of that. But fortunately for us, you know, our BEE deal was one of the most successful in the industry. And even though in 2015 it vested, we are still working with our business partners and not getting any points on the scorecard. So there's quite a few initiatives, you know, where when we talk about a principle of transformation transcending compliance, we truly try to live that. And similarly with the 5 C's, if you try to make it live, it becomes easier. But if I just draw you a pretty picture, yes, you will always get skeptics, you know, you would always get skeptics,
Wow, this is fascinating. So we spoke. Let me see if there's one more. So this communication and connection, I think you've touched. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the culture piece, because that's, I think it's a big deal. What are some of the practical things that someone who is thinking about changing their culture, maybe in this role, in the similar space that you're in, or in a different space, how can they go about bringing the culture change?
Yeah, so Maanda, we had a huge program, that was going on at the time. It was called Leading for Deep Green. So what Leading for Deep Green? Yeah, it's very cool. Semantics and linguistics matter, right?
Okay.
You always have to come up with something. So even when you're finding a purpose, that the language matters. People are attracted to certain things. And a lot of people in Nedbank, when you talk to them, they'll talk to you about my blood is green. They are that committed. They are that committed. So basically what we did is we embarked, again, it's a deliberate effort. We embarked on a culture transformation program together with a company called CCL at the time. And so we put in this Leading for Deep Green program. So what that meant is people will go on different sort of journeys regarding personal mastery, talking about diversity. We all are different. We all come from different backgrounds. Some people might play the role of a chief at his home, but at work he's playing the role of something else, and so on and so on. So the workshops were really about self-mastery in terms of knowing yourself better, and then also about learning about the group and learning about different things, because that's often where your unconscious bias comes from.
Sure.
So the diversity and the culture workshops are trying to hopefully break down those barriers, whether it's racial, whether it's gender, whether it's whatever it is, caste, whatever it is. So those workshops were intended to do that. Then what also happened is, coupled with those workshops, we would then have like coaching for different individuals. So all of the executives had to have executive coaches in order to progress this journey. And then by the end of 2012 at the time, more than 8,000 managers across the organization, or leaders, let's not call them managers, had gone through this Leading for Deep Green program. So in a way, you're taking people on a journey, but you're also helping them along.
Sure.
So even that, Maanda, obviously, it's also quite an investment,
It is,
It does cost a lot of money, but you see the benefit through the culture surveys. So for example, we utilized at the time the Richard Barrett methodology, which was all about measuring cultural entropy in the organization. So entropy is just like the level of dysfunction in the organization. And it will give you a sense of how productive are your people, are they wanting to come to work, is there values alignment, things like that. So we sent people on the program, and then we also had a diagnostic tool to measure progress. And then that's how you see the progress, because the cultural entropy, the lower the score, the better it is, came all the way down to 10 at one point. So that's how we knew. And then currently, obviously, as the world shifts and we all have to pivot, even your culture program has to pivot. So currently we're doing a lot of work with Maanda Tshifularo. You might know them and the team. So at present, we're also embarking on a culture transformation journey with them, including obviously diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, all these good things.
Lovely. So now, I have to ask, does this ever get to someone's KPIs? Does transformation or some metric ever get to either top level or mid-level? How is there something you did with performance scorecards?
Definitely, Maanda. It's a great question, because yes, it was on everybody's performance scorecards, from the CE to all of the leaders in the bank. So at least at the executive level, and then it rolls down to each of the people. So if you're in procurement, you will have your targets. If you enterprise, and so but at an executive level, everyone has it on their scorecards. And then also, very interestingly, For the executives' LTIs, the long-term incentive vesting, there's actually a category for environmental and social metrics.
Lovely.
One of those metrics is obviously a BEE, the others will be in the ESG space. So definitely there's that, yes.
So last question on this. I'm curious around were there some mistakes you made? I think, with the frenzy, many organizations jumped into sort of the transformation agenda, and I think some kind of made a bunch of mistakes and pulled back, etc., etc. I wonder if there were some mistakes you made, and then you're like, "Oh, we could have done that better." No?
So I think, no, definitely, Maanda. So what we try to do is we try to, bold the plane in a way
while you're flying.
Yeah. So even like if I take the ESD example, in the beginning, there was a bit of wheel spinning on it, and there was a bit of challenge on it, because initially it was more, no, we're going to outsource this. And then we went down a whole rabbit hole on that. And then they came full circle back where it was, no, not the right thing. Let's insource. But like I said, even with the insourcing, it was quite a while before it started to get operationalized properly, So so there have been some of those, definitely. But what we try to do is you recognize the mistake and you have to fix it, You can't go back with, well, now what? So you have to, in a way, either turn the problem into a possibility, or you either have to say, okay, unfortunately, we take the hit, now we move on. But you have to, yes, mistakes do happen along the journey,
Right. So you also hold a role where you coach inside Nedbank. I just want to hear your thoughts on the value of coaching in corporates, and if there are companies that perhaps don't have this sort of structured coaching and a coaching panel, maybe you might be able to convince them, or maybe someone who hasn't received coaching. Maybe you might want to convince them otherwise. So let's start organizationally, the value of coaching, and perhaps at an individual level. What are you seeing? What are you learning as you coach people? And should everyone have a coach?
Yeah, thanks, Maanda. So I think from an organization perspective, and certainly even before COVID, organizations always had coaching. And it's really, if you can look at coaching as taking you from good to great.
Lovely.
Because yes, a lot of people look at it as, I'm getting a coach because I'm on a performance improvement program. No.
Yes.
The development for coaching is about growth and development. It's not about solving performance improvement problems. That's some of the myths that people are sometimes turned off by coaching because they think, oh no, now it's going to look like I'm on a performance development program. It's actually not about that. So coaching is really, if you look at a coach can be thought of as a thinking partner that's going to help you unleash your potential in order to move you from good to great, or great to excellent.
Lovely.
Because coaching is agnostic of a discipline. So if I can explain it like this, if you want a mentor and you want to become a chartered accountant, you need to have a chartered accountant to teach you what to do. Whereas a coach, when you go to a coach, you're already technically skilled. So your IQ is already there. You're not coming to the coach because you want some insights on being a chartered accountant. You come into the coach for more emotional intelligence, adaptability, it's things like that, career growth. What's next? I want to find my purpose in life. Those are some of the things you go to the coach for. So if we look across the world, even after COVID, coaching was one of the fastest growing disciplines. And remember, there's also different categories of coaching. There's life coaching, there's sports coaching, there's business coaching, there's whatever type of coaching you want, But I think you need to look at it as, like for me, I tell people, coaching for me is it's about empowerment. Because empowerment is really the process where a person takes control of their circumstances, or an organization takes control of their circumstances, But
Sure.
why do they do it? It's to maximize their livelihood. So
Okay.
coaching is one, about empowerment. Two,
Yeah.
it's about excellence. Because
Okay.
when you become conscious of what you are capable of achieving, you
Yeah.
won't settle for mediocrity. That is
Wow.
why I'm saying a coach takes you from good to great. Okay.
Okay.
And remember, Maanda, we all have blind spots.
Yes,
And
yes.
remember, sometimes you could be the smartest chisel in the box, yet you are still on, okay, I'm just using this analogy, right? Yet you're
Yes,
still on
yes.
the ground floor. Then you
Yeah.
find all the other guys on 5th floor, 7th floor, White House, you know, and you wonder what happened. It's
Yeah.
not because of your intellect. It's because of
Sure.
all of the other smarts, you know, your emotional
Sure.
intelligence, your level of empathy, how you
Yeah.
connect with people or don't connect with people, all of those things, you know. And then
Yeah.
for me, evolution, because
Okay.
evolution is simply a continuous change to a better state or a growth phase. And you
Wow.
must always be growing in some way or the other. You know,
Okay.
so those are some of the things in my mind that coaching will give you. Now, if that's what it gives to an individual, then it gives the organization the same thing. It helps
Sure.
the organization collectively maximize its potential. It helps the
Okay.
organization collectively to reach excellence or whatever state you want to. It
Yeah.
helps the organization to evolve. Why? Because you have to evolve to survive. If
Wow.
you don't evolve, you're not going to survive. And I mean, Maanda, and then personally, from my own experience, I
Yeah.
mean, I was fortunate to have mentors, you know, along the way, but also coaches. And yes, there
Okay.
is a bit of an overlap in terms of mentors and coaches, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's what really takes you to the next level. It helps you to grow. It helps you to learn. And remember also, when you come to a coach, we're not telling you you must go to a life coach to talk about a life problem, because you can't really separate yourself.
Yes,
But
yes, yes.
because the whole human being is coming to you, right? The whole human
Yeah.
being is coming to you. But
Yeah.
coaching helps you do different things. You know, if we talk, let's say, about cognitive behavioral coaching, all
Yeah.
that means is we all think in a certain way.
Sure.
Our thoughts is
Yeah.
what can either trap us or
Yeah.
progress us. And nobody
Sure.
else in the world knows your thoughts.
Sure.
So if you can also start to understand your thoughts or your cognitions better, that
Yeah.
then impacts your behavior, which is
Yeah.
really your action, and that then impacts your life. So you
Hey.
can think of it in multiple ways. You can think of it
Sure.
from a systems perspective. You
Okay.
know, who are you in the system that you're operating in?
Yeah.
And who do you want to be? And what's
Hey.
stopping you from getting there? So, you know, it's
Sure.
all these things. It's even about personal branding. What's
Yeah.
your elevator pitch? If you met
Okay.
Maanda at the bottom of the elevator and you want a job at Super Lead, what are you
Yeah.
going to do? You know, so it's all these little
Lovely.
things, but they can have a huge impact.
Lovely. No, I love that. So I love that conversation. And you also coach, your Enneagram certified.
Yes.
So am I. Do you wanna pitch for people to do the assessments?
Yes, definitely. So with the Enneagram, you know, Maanda, it's really a fantastic tool of, it's like a map of self-awareness.
Sure.
So the Enneagram is a personality assessment, but
Yeah.
it gives you insight about your core motivation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's really motivating you? Is it the need to stay in control? Is it the need to be liked and appreciated? Is it the need to be competitive? Is it the need, you know, whatever? So the Enneagram comes from the word, from the Greek. Therefore, Ennea has the 9 types. So it's got 9 different archetypes. But what I really love about the Enneagram is, and I also believe this as a person, and even as a leader, every person should know what their personality type is. Because when you know that, okay, it doesn't matter whether you do Enneagram or MBTI or DISC or Discovery, whatever you do. When you know yourself, remember everything starts with self.
Yeah.
So if I know that, okay, I'm a control freak, yes. Now, how is that impacting others?
Sure.
You know, become aware of it. So when you become aware about something, then you can do something about it. Because when it's unconscious bias, that's what it is. It's unconscious. So how can I do something in fairness? How can I do something if I'm unconscious about it? So for me,
Sure.
I think the Enneagram is just a fantastic tool that allows you to know more about yourself.
Yeah.
And in so doing, it allows you to actually, progress in life, because
Sure.
then you can also become kind to yourself.
Wow.
Yes, because often we are very hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
And, as a leader, you also need support.
Yeah.
And sometimes the best place to get it is from yourself. Because you
Sure.
can also be quite lonely, right? It's not very easy at the top either. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think just knowing yourself, Maanda, that whole thing about knowing yourself. And the Enneagram is a fantastic tool. I mean, I use it in coaching. I really share it, I encourage the coaches to do it, because also then when you come to me for coaching, we're starting off from a more factual base. And remember, there's no right or wrong personality, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to get a minus for your personality, but it's going to help you to progress in life. Yes, it's going to help you to progress.
But some of that Enneagram language can feel harsh.
100%. Yes, Maanda, I know, 100%. Yeah. And it's interesting because when we go through the training, it's like, wow. Like I'm an 8, okay, which is an active controller. But it sounds like, wow, you're a greedy person. And like, oh, this word doesn't sound good, Or it might sound like somebody is a pushover and another archetype. Or it might sound like someone has what they call a busy mind, but they refer to it as a monkey mind. In the archetypes. And I hear you saying you're 7. But a monkey mind is really useful because you have all these great thoughts. Now it's about saying, how do I then connect with someone who's an implementer? Because after I give you all my great thoughts and then we work together and So no, it's fantastic. But I agree with you. Harsh, yes. It can be harsh. But at the same time, once you just start having an understanding of the manner in which the assessment came about and why we utilize certain words, then it's, much of a muchness, But it's a fantastic tool, Maanda. I think we can talk about it for the whole day. But and one more thing which I love about the Enneagram. It's based on a combination of mathematics, philosophy, psychology. So it's been tried and tested.
It has.
For some of the people that might be skeptics. It's really, tried and tested. And that's what I love about it.
And also, I mean, there are other assessments, right? So, what I'm hearing you say is there's just no excuse to not know your personality, your strengths, your motivations, your values, your stars, all of those things. I think there's a lot now that one can get access to. Lovely. So now I just wonder, I guess all of these things help you to be a high impact leader, and then the organization. I just wonder how some of these things from a Nedbank perspective, the industry is changing, the new disruptors are coming into the market. I wonder, sort of how you and your colleagues are thinking about some of these disruptions that are happening. And yet financial inclusion still feels like we're not there yet. So this difference sometimes, this tension, we have financial inclusion is not complete, and yet we've got these banks and many other banks coming into the space. What say Nedbank?
Yeah, so it is a tough one, Maanda, but I think we understand that banking of the future, right, is definitely going to be a hybrid of traditional banking and digital banking. We know that over time, there's going to be a more significant shift towards digital, okay? But we also think that we have to be an agile bank that is ready for digital when you want it, and also provides human intervention when you need it. Because there are certain people that will still want that. So yes, our ambition in a way as a bank is to go beyond banking, to obviously become more client focused, more digital, more competitive. So if you just think about something like our Avo app, that's in a way gone beyond banking. But
so explain to some people that may not be aware of the Avo app. Because I think of Avo and I'm getting hungry.
Are you getting hungry? Yeah. Yeah. So Avo was intended to be a banking app where you can just do your banking, your transactions, transferring money, doing all of those things. But when COVID hit all of us, we had to pivot. And one of the things that was done is that app was then translated into a lifestyle app. So now you can also do buying through the Avo app. And then in so doing, I mean, you can buy from Woolworths or you can buy from wherever, you know, depending on who the vendors are on that app. And then you can also get discounts, you can get benefits and so on. So it's something that you won't ordinarily think that a bank would do.
Yeah.
You know, because generally you would have an app for banking.
Yes,
so
yes, yes.
Like, so I think so the bank is thinking about banking of the future. That's why we say going beyond banking. You know, a bank is not going to be a bank as we know it today or as we knew it yesterday. But we also on this journey, also following our clients, seeing what they're doing, you know. So what we call our 5 strategic value unlocks. I know it's sounding like a big word, but yeah. So what we are trying to do, number one, is we obviously trying to deliver innovative solutions, you know, that can go to market. We're also trying to basically look on creating value. So we just call it a strategic portfolio tilt. So when you look at the whole portfolio,
you're good with words, eh?
Where should you tilt
portfolio tilt.
Yes, so now, you know, we got to say to the guys, yes, where do you now shift and tilt and pivot? So a great example is like, you know, we all know the township economy is going to be very important, and it is already important. But now how do we shift and become more aggressive in that? It's not always easy. So, you know, so that's what strategic portfolio tilt is all about. What's your mix and what's the right mix? Then very importantly, Maanda, we have to drive efficient execution. And that's why we keep on looking at what's our target operating model? How do we enhance our business model to deliver for this, you know, new world, if you want to call it that? And then very importantly, last but not least, we're always looking at delivering on our purpose. So yes, there's a huge technology program. It's called Managed Evolution. It's been happening over the past 5 years, and we sort of 90% complete, you know, and it's really looking at modernizing the entire digital IT stack, as they call it. I also had to learn all of these terms, you know, over the years. We also had to go on a whole journey as the execs of the bank, you know, to also learn and shift, because our skills of yesterday are really going to be obsolete. So I think there's a whole focus on this, yet it is not easy. But I think, Maanda, for like any of this, you know, when you look about, how do we remain relevant? It's really about AQ, you know, as they call it, the adaptability quotient. Because if you aren't able
AQ, I mean, this is a new one. This is a new one I'm hearing.
Okay, great. So AQ is all about the adaptability quotient. So it's really saying like, how quickly can you as a company, an entity, an organization handle change, learn from mistakes, overcome challenges, and almost adjust in real time? That's where you have to go to. Because, you know, IQ is about your technical intelligence. EQ is about your empathy and all of those self-awareness and so on. AQ is about adapting. So, you know, AQ is really the difference between excellence and extinction in the modern. Because if you are not going to adapt and lead the pack and execute quickly enough, well, guess what's going to happen?
Extinct.
Now you can even think about that from a self perspective.
Sure. Wow. So, I mean, this is serious now. So how do I increase my AQ, if you do it?
So, you know, Maanda, it also goes back to important skills that you have to have, you know, as an individual. So, yes, let's say what got you there or what got you here won't get you there. Okay, so now you have your skills that you already have of how you ended up where you are today. But now when you look at the world and how's it changing and stuff, what are the new skills that are required? So AQ is all about learning. It's all about staying relevant. It's all about adapting to the new norm. It's adapting to the new world. It's looking at 4IR. Okay, what do I need to do? It's really about staying relevant, if you want to say it like that. How do I
Okay.
change and adapt to remain relevant? If you want to call it that, yeah. And there's lots of, you know, work that's been done on it, even from Harvard, from yeah. So there's quite a bit on it. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm listening here, and does it mean with this learning I must enroll on a course at Gibbs, which you must?
Yes. Yeah.
Does it mean I must go and take up a course, or you know, how I wonder how I can sort of increase my staying relevant
Yeah.
quotient.
Yeah, so I think, Maanda, the first thing is to say, if you look at your skills that you currently have, so it's almost you can do a skills litmus test for yourself to say, the skills that I have today, is it going to help me form my own plan for, let's say, 5 years, 10 years, etc. So let's just say currently, like now I'm in the transformation role, you know, so I can look at, okay, what if there could be a sunset clause for BEE tomorrow?
Yeah.
So what will I be doing?
Yes.
Therefore, so you got to look at things like, what are the jobs of the future? Are my skills relevant? Are my skills of today relevant for tomorrow, as in the immediate tomorrow, or 5 years from now, or whatever? And then based on that, let's say you decide, okay, my skills are no longer relevant. Then correct. Then you will look at the Gibbs, or you look at the Henley. But now the world has changed, right? It doesn't have to be Gibbs or Henley. It can be, you can do short courses. Or you can do courses online. You know, that will give you, because a lot of the courses online now, give you a certificate after it as well. So it's really upskilling, staying relevant, adapting to the change, you know. So for me, I'm hoping I can still be a coach, Maanda. Even if, you see, that's my backup plan. So yeah, so it's like saying, have a plan B. What is your plan B? And you know, these things are not, they're not good to talk about, you know. It's like the power crisis, and I don't want to talk about it. But yeah, you know, it's not good things to talk about. But unfortunately, one has to look at the reality of the world, appreciate it. But the trick is, don't get sucked into it, you know. Acknowledge it, and then very quickly, and that's where coaching, by the way, can help. Because when you sit with your coach, who's your thinking partner, then the two of you can help craft, what next for me?
So is coaching available for everyone? Is it affordable? And all of you certified, you know, multiple accredited coaches, rather expensive?
So I think, Maanda, the range differs, right? So I'll just take Nedbank, for example, because I am employed at Nedbank, and Nedbank has a coaching panel. It constitutes internal coaches, that's such as myself, and external coaches. So if you are able to find chemistry, as they call it, with an internal coach, it's for free in that company. And then, because if you want, so if you're working at Nedbank, I coach people at Nedbank at no cost. At no cost, because it's over and above my day job, right? But let's say if I'm on the panel of coaches for another company, then I will charge, but the company would generally pay. So I think if you're in corporate, it can be affordable, and you just got to engage with your learning and development department, or training department, or skills development department, and see how that can help. I think if you're an individual and you are wanting to pay for coaching, then you will have a discussion with your coach, because your coach there are different models also in terms of how the coach might structure the financials, let's call it that. And so I think you will have to have a discussion with your coach, but it can be affordable, because you can sort of see, let's say you can choose maybe between 5 coaches and see which one may be more affordable to you than one. But yes, to your point, it's very important to have an accredited coach, because coaching is not a discipline that is regulated. You know, we will belong to accreditation bodies, like I belong to the International Coach Federation of the USA. So that helps your discipline to, you know, to actually progress. So it's important when you choose a coach to also look for their qualifications, even their years of experience, things like that. Yeah.
Wow, I can't believe we're at the top of the hour.
We already, okay.
So we ask our guests these two questions. One is if you could give our listeners a challenge. One challenge, it could be flowing from the conversation. And then the second one is if you can recommend a book. One, so that I can increase my bookshelf, and two, so that our listeners might find an interesting book to read.
So I think, Maanda, seeing as we are talking empowerment in a way, right? Yeah. I think for me, it's about empowerment must be a choice. Okay. So I would give the listeners a challenge to say, so make the choice to either empower yourself or your team or your organization or your community. But whichever one. Yeah. Whichever one. And
but you must make the choice.
Yes, make the choice. Make the choice. You have to make it's got to be deliberate. It's got to be deliberate. Yeah.
Lovely. Love that. Books.
Okay, so I think, I'm going to stick with African Pearls of Wisdom. So if you haven't yet read it, you probably have Behold the Turtle from Professor Banang Mohale. Yeah, I think it's really great because, he's challenging us to really be a change agent, be a defender of democracy. He's talking about ethical leadership. It's all these things that we need in this time. And you know what the whole thing about the turtle, the one who only makes progress if he sticks his neck out. So I think it's all sort of, linked. So
lovely. No, Kershini, I see it. We've done the hour. Thank you so much for a fantastic conversation. I look forward to another installment of this podcast with you in the near future.
Sure. Thank you so much, Maanda, and thanks for the opportunity as well.
Lovely.
Okay.